Most people think success comes from saying more, sharing more, explaining more, but real power grows in silence. As the world becomes louder, more public, more obsessed with visibility, wisdom moves in the opposite direction. The strongest people are not the ones who broadcast every thought, plan, or struggle. They are the ones who understand that privacy is not secrecy, it is protection. As you move into a new chapter of your life, there are certain things that must remain guarded if you want peace, progress, and control over your destiny. Your long-term goals do not need an audience. When you announce your plans too early, you invite opinions from people who are not walking your path, doubts from those who fear change, and pressure that can weaken your focus. Quietly working on yourself builds discipline. It keeps your energy clean and your direction clear. Let your results introduce you instead of your intentions. Your next move should stay yours until it is done. Life rewards preparation, not premature exposure. When people know your next step, they may consciously or unconsciously interfere. Silence gives you room to think, to adjust, and to execute without distraction. Strategy loses power when it is public. Your income and financial plans are personal business. Money attracts curiosity, comparison, and sometimes resentment. When others know what you earn or how you invest, it can change relationships and create unnecessary tension. Financial peace grows when you move wisely, privately, and with purpose, not when you seek validation or approval. Your struggles and weaknesses should be shared carefully, not widely. Vulnerability is powerful, but only in the right environment. Not everyone deserves access to your pain. Some people listen to understand, others listen to judge or gossip. Protecting your inner battles gives you strength while you heal and grow. Your personal growth journey does not need constant updates. When you change, people may feel uncomfortable because it challenges their idea of who you are. Growth is often misunderstood before it is respected. Let your consistency speak louder than explanations. Transformation does not require permission. Your relationships and family matters are sacred. The moment private issues become public, they gain outside opinions that often complicate instead of solve. Protecting your inner circle keeps bonds strong and drama minimal. Peace at home is more valuable than attention outside. Your moments of self-doubt should remain internal, not because they are wrong, but because they are temporary. Every strong person has moments of uncertainty, but feeding those doubts with external voices can turn passing thoughts into permanent fear. Learn to sit with your mind, question it, and move forward quietly. Privacy is not hiding, it is mastering timing. It is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. In a world that rewards oversharing, discipline is choosing restraint. When you protect these areas of your life, you protect your focus, your peace, and your power. And that is how you step into a new year stronger, calmer, and in control of who you are becoming. Silence has always been misunderstood. People think being quiet means having nothing to say, nothing to show, nothing to offer. In reality, silence is often where the real power lies. When you stop announcing every move, every thought, every plan, you begin to move with clarity instead of noise. Oversharing feels good in the moment because it brings validation, attention, and a sense of connection, but it quietly drains your strength. Every time you speak too soon, you give away energy that should have been invested in action. When you keep certain things private, your mind becomes sharper. You stop performing for others and start focusing on yourself. Silence creates space, and in that space, discipline grows. You are no longer distracted by opinions, praise, or criticism. You are not adjusting your path to fit someone else's expectations. You are simply moving forward, one intentional step at a time. That kind of focus is rare, and rarity itself is power. Oversharing invites unnecessary interference. The moment people know your plans, they feel entitled to comment on them. Some will discourage you, not because your idea is bad, but because your courage reminds them of their own inaction. Others will project their fears onto your vision. Even well-meaning advice can become noise when it arrives too early. Silence protects your vision while it is still fragile, while it still needs belief more than feedback. There is also a deeper reason power grows in silence. When you speak less, you observe more. You notice patterns, intentions, and opportunities that others miss because they are too busy talking. You learn to read rooms, read people, read moments. This awareness gives you an advantage that cannot be taught easily. It comes from restraint, from patience, from understanding that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every emotion needs to be displayed. Silence builds inner confidence. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking approval. You begin to trust your own judgment. You don't need applause to move forward, and you don't need permission to grow. This kind of confidence is calm, grounded, and unshakable. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It simply stands firm. People feel it before you ever say a word. Keeping things private also strengthens your emotional control. When you constantly talk about your struggles, you relive them over and over. Silence allows healing to happen quietly. It allows you to process pain without turning it into an identity. You learn to handle pressure internally instead of leaking it externally. This emotional discipline is what separates those who break under stress from those who rise above it. In a world driven by social media, silence becomes even more powerful. Everyone is sharing highlights, opinions, and personal details, often without realizing the cost. Privacy becomes a form of self-respect. You don't owe the world access to your life. You don't owe explanations for your choices. When you choose silence, you choose control. You decide what is shared, when it is shared, and with whom it is shared. True power doesn't announce itself. It prepares in the dark. It grows quietly. It waits until results speak louder than words. When success arrives without prior noise, it carries weight. People respect what they didn't see coming. They trust what was built without constant validation. Silence turns effort into substance. In 2026 and beyond, the ability to stay private will be a rare skill. Those who master it will move faster, think clearer, and live more peacefully. They won't waste energy explaining their journey. They will conserve it for progress. Silence will not make them invisible. It will make them unstoppable. Most people reveal their next move long before they are ready to execute it. They talk about what they are about to do, where they are going, and how everything is going to change. It feels motivating in the moment, but it quietly weakens momentum. The moment a plan is spoken, it becomes vulnerable. It is exposed to opinions, doubts, expectations, and unnecessary pressure. Keeping your next move private is not about fear, it is about strategy. When you move in silence, you give yourself freedom. Freedom to adjust, to change direction, to slow down or speed up without having to explain yourself. Life is unpredictable, and plans often evolve. When everyone knows your next step, even small changes can feel like failures in their eyes. Silence removes that burden. It allows you to focus on execution instead of explanation. Preparation loses its edge when it becomes public. Strategy works best when it is protected. Athletes do not reveal their game plan before the match. Leaders do not announce every decision before it is finalized. The same principle applies to personal growth and success. Your next move deserves the same level of respect and protection. When it is ready, it will speak for itself. Keeping your next move private strengthens discipline. Talking about plans can create a false sense of accomplishment. The brain often rewards intention the same way it rewards action. By staying quiet, you deny yourself that premature reward and force yourself to follow through. Action becomes the only source of satisfaction. This builds consistency and integrity with yourself. Silence also shields you from external fear. People project their limitations onto others. When you share your next step, you may hear warnings disguised as advice. They might say it is risky, unrealistic, or unnecessary. Even if they mean well, their fear can settle into your mind. Protecting your plans keeps your belief intact while it is still forming. There is power in surprise. When your move is revealed through results rather than announcements, it carries more weight. People respect outcomes more than promises. Success that arrives quietly is harder to question and easier to trust. Silence allows you to build substance instead of hype. Moving quietly also teaches patience. Not everything needs to be rushed or displayed. Growth takes time. Mastery takes repetition. When you keep your plans private, you allow them to mature naturally. You stop rushing the process to meet external timelines or expectations. This patience leads to stronger foundations and more sustainable success. Your next move is also tied to your identity. When you talk too much about what you are going to do, you start attaching your self-worth to future outcomes. Silence keeps you grounded in the present. You focus on who you are becoming rather than who you are trying to prove yourself to be. This shift creates stability and resilience. There is also a protective element to privacy. Not everyone wants to see you win. Some people smile while secretly hoping you fail. When your plans are private, they cannot be sabotaged by negative energy, intentional or not. Silence acts as a shield, keeping your focus pure and your path clear. As you move forward, understand that privacy is not secrecy born from insecurity. It is confidence in your ability to deliver. You do not need witnesses for your preparation. You do not need applause for your effort. When the time is right, your actions will speak louder than any announcement, and your next move will land with strength and purpose. Money has a way of changing how people see you, and even more importantly, how they treat you. The moment your income or financial plans become public, the dynamic of relationships can shift in ways you never expected. Curiosity turns into comparison, admiration turns into judgment, and support can quietly turn into resentment. Keeping your financial life private is not about shame or secrecy. It is about protecting your peace and maintaining control over your direction. When people know how much you earn, they begin to measure you instead of understanding you. Some will see your success and feel inspired, but many will see it as a reference point for their own insecurities. Comparison creates silent tension. It changes conversations, expectations, and even respect. What once felt natural can suddenly feel transactional. Privacy keeps relationships clean and intentions clear. Money information also attracts advice that you did not ask for. Everyone suddenly becomes a financial expert when they know your numbers. They tell you where to invest, how to spend, what risks to take, and what you are doing wrong. Even when advice is well-meaning, it can create confusion and doubt. Financial clarity comes from focused learning and personal strategy, not from scattered opinions. Keeping income private strengthens humility and discipline. When you stop talking about money, you stop chasing validation through numbers. Your confidence becomes internal rather than external. You focus on growth instead of recognition. This mindset protects you from lifestyle inflation driven by ego rather than purpose. You spend intentionally instead of emotionally. Financial privacy also reduces pressure. When people know your earnings, expectations rise. They may expect you to pay more, give more, or rescue others from their responsibilities. This pressure can quietly drain your resources and create guilt where none should exist. Protecting your financial information allows you to help others by choice, not obligation. Plans related to money are especially vulnerable when shared too early. Investments, business ideas, and long-term financial strategies require patience and clarity. When others are involved before plans are mature, fear and doubt can interfere. Financial decisions demand calm thinking. Privacy gives you the space to research, adjust, and commit without emotional interference. Money also affects how people interpret your struggles. If they believe you earn well, they may dismiss your challenges as insignificant. Your stress becomes invalid in their eyes. Privacy protects your humanity. It allows you to be seen as a person, not a paycheck. There is also a safety element to financial privacy. The more people know about your income and assets, the more exposed you become to manipulation, exploitation, and unnecessary risk. Boundaries protect not just money, but mental well-being. Knowing that your financial life is guarded brings a sense of control and calm. As you grow financially, silence becomes a form of wisdom. You let results speak quietly through stability, generosity, and long-term security rather than through numbers and announcements. Wealth that is protected grows stronger. Peace that is protected lasts longer. When finances remain personal, decisions remain powerful, focused, and aligned with the life you are intentionally building. Struggles and self-doubt are part of being human, but not every battle needs an audience. There is strength in knowing when to speak and wisdom in knowing when to stay quiet. When you share your weaknesses too freely, you give people access to parts of you that are still healing. Not everyone will handle that access with care. Some will misunderstand, some will judge, and others may use your vulnerability against you. Selective sharing is not emotional isolation, it is self-protection. There is a difference between seeking support and seeking sympathy. Support empowers you to rise, while sympathy can quietly anchor you to your pain. When struggles are shared widely, they often become stories you repeat instead of lessons you grow from. The mind begins to identify with the struggle, and identity shapes behavior. Keeping certain battles private allows you to process them without turning them into labels. Self-doubt is especially fragile. It thrives on attention. The more it is spoken aloud to the wrong people, the stronger it becomes. External voices can magnify internal fears. Someone else's skepticism can easily become your own. Protecting your doubts gives you the space to challenge them internally, where they can be examined logically rather than emotionally reinforced. Private struggle builds inner resilience. When you learn to sit with discomfort without immediately externalizing it, you develop emotional endurance. You discover that feelings are temporary, thoughts are flexible, and strength grows in stillness. This does not mean carrying everything alone forever. It means choosing carefully who has the privilege of hearing your truth. Trust is earned, not assumed. Some people listen to understand, others listen to compare, gossip, or feel superior. When you share selectively, you reduce the risk of being misunderstood. You also learn to value your own voice more than external validation. Healing becomes an internal process supported by the right people, not a public performance shaped by reactions. There is also power in mystery. When people do not know what you are struggling with, they see your strength before your scars. This does not make you dishonest, it makes you disciplined. You are allowed to grow quietly. You are allowed to rebuild without explaining every crack in the foundation. Selective sharing sharpens emotional intelligence. You begin to recognize who brings clarity and who brings confusion, who offers solutions and who feeds fear. This awareness strengthens relationships instead of weakening them. It creates boundaries that protect both your energy and your progress. Struggles handled privately often resolve more cleanly. Without external noise, you can think clearly. You can reflect honestly. You can take responsibility without defensiveness. Growth accelerates when the focus shifts from being understood to understanding yourself. Self-doubt also teaches valuable lessons when processed internally. It reveals areas that need skill, discipline, or confidence. When you work through doubt privately, you turn it into strategy instead of insecurity. You come back stronger, quieter, and more grounded. Keeping struggles selective does not mean rejecting help. It means choosing wisdom over impulse. The right support at the right time strengthens you. The wrong audience at the wrong time weakens you. Knowing the difference is emotional maturity. As life moves forward, your ability to protect your inner world becomes one of your greatest strengths. Not everyone needs access to your pain to respect your growth. Some chapters are meant to be lived, learned, and closed quietly, allowing you to emerge wiser, steadier, and more in control of who you are becoming. Personal growth is a quiet process, not a performance. It unfolds through daily choices, private struggles, and consistent effort that often goes unnoticed. When you announce every change you are trying to make, you invite opinions that can distract, confuse, or even discourage you. Growth needs space, it needs time, and most importantly, it needs protection. Keeping your personal development private allows you to evolve without pressure, without labels, and without the need to explain yourself at every step. When people see you changing, they often react based on who you used to be, not who you are becoming. Their expectations can unconsciously pull you back into old patterns. They may question your decisions, joke about your discipline, or resist the new boundaries you are setting. This resistance is not always malicious, but it can slow your progress. Privacy gives your growth room to solidify before it is challenged. Growth is fragile in its early stages. New habits, new mindsets, and new standards require repetition to become stable. When you talk about them too soon, you expose them to doubt. Even supportive comments can create pressure to live up to an image before you are ready. Silence allows you to practice without performing. Relationships also need protection. When personal matters become public, outside opinions often enter the picture. Friends, relatives, and strangers bring their perspectives, biases, and assumptions. What was once simple becomes complicated. Protecting your relationships from unnecessary exposure preserves trust and intimacy. The strongest bonds are built in privacy, not in public commentary. Keeping relationships private also prevents comparison. When people know too much about your personal life, they measure it against their own. This comparison can breed jealousy, judgment, or unrealistic expectations. Privacy keeps relationships authentic. It allows them to grow based on understanding rather than perception. Personal growth often requires change, and change can make others uncomfortable. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking approval. You begin to live in alignment with your values instead of someone else's comfort. This independence strengthens confidence and clarity. Growth becomes internal rather than performative. There is also dignity in privacy. Some experiences are sacred. They shape you deeply and deserve respect. Not every lesson needs to be shared. Not every transformation needs to be documented. When you keep parts of your journey private, you honor the depth of your experience. Privacy also reduces emotional exhaustion. Constantly explaining your choices, defending your growth, or updating others on your progress drains energy. That energy is better spent on consistency and action. Silence conserves strength. As you grow, your circle may change. Some people will no longer align with who you are becoming. Keeping your journey private allows these shifts to happen naturally, without conflict or justification. You don't owe everyone access to your evolution. True growth speaks through behavior, not announcements. When change is real, people notice without being told. Your calm, your boundaries, your discipline, and your peace become visible without explanation. This quiet confidence commands respect. Protecting your personal growth and relationships is an act of self-respect. It allows you to build a life rooted in intention rather than reaction. When growth is nurtured privately, it becomes stronger, deeper, and more sustainable, shaping not just who you appear to be, but who you truly are. Privacy is often mistaken for secrecy, but the two are very different. Secrecy comes from fear, while privacy comes from strength. Discipline is the ability to choose what deserves your energy and what does not, and privacy is one of its highest expressions. When you learn to protect your inner world, you protect your focus. When you protect your focus, you protect your power. In a world that constantly demands access to your thoughts, plans, emotions, and life, choosing privacy becomes an act of self-leadership. Discipline begins with boundaries. Without boundaries, everything leaks. Time leaks, energy leaks, emotions leak. When your life is open to everyone, your direction becomes vulnerable to distraction. Privacy allows you to decide what enters your mental space and what stays out. That control is the foundation of peace. Peace does not come from a perfect life, it comes from a protected one. People often underestimate how much noise affects the mind. Opinions, expectations, comparisons, and judgments slowly shape behavior when left unchecked. Privacy acts like a filter. It blocks unnecessary noise and allows you to hear your own thoughts clearly. This clarity strengthens decision-making. When decisions are made from a calm and protected place, they are stronger, more intentional, and more aligned with your values. Focus is fragile. It cannot survive constant interruption. Every explanation you give, every update you share, every defense you make pulls attention away from what truly matters. Privacy preserves momentum. It allows you to stay locked in on your path without constantly looking sideways. When focus is protected, progress becomes inevitable. Power grows when you stop reacting to external validation. Privacy removes the need to impress, convince, or explain. You no longer measure yourself by likes, applause, or approval. Your confidence becomes internal. This internal confidence is stable because it does not depend on circumstances or opinions. It stays with you in silence, pressure, and uncertainty. Discipline also means emotional control. When everything is shared, emotions become exposed before they are understood. Privacy gives emotions time to settle. It gives you space to process feelings without amplifying them through external reaction. This emotional restraint is not suppression, it is mastery. You learn when to express and when to observe. Privacy protects peace by reducing unnecessary conflict. Many arguments are born from misunderstandings created by partial information. When people have limited access to your life, there are fewer opportunities for misinterpretation. Peace grows when there is less explanation and more alignment. Silence often prevents problems before they begin. Power is closely tied to timing. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is a skill developed through discipline. Not every truth needs to be shared immediately. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Timing turns information into influence. Privacy gives you control over timing, and control over timing gives you leverage. Protecting your life from overexposure also strengthens self-respect. When you treat your thoughts, goals, and emotions as valuable, others follow your lead. People respect what is protected. They value what is not easily accessed. Privacy sends a message that your inner world matters. In relationships, privacy creates depth. When everything is public, nothing feels special. When certain moments, conversations, and bonds are kept private, they gain meaning. This strengthens trust and intimacy. Boundaries do not weaken relationships, they define them. Discipline through privacy also teaches patience. You learn to sit with progress without announcing it. You learn to work without recognition. This patience builds resilience. You stop needing immediate feedback to stay motivated. Your drive becomes self-sustained. As life becomes more visible and more public, privacy becomes a rare advantage. Those who master it move quietly, think clearly, and act decisively. Their peace is not easily shaken because it is not constantly exposed. Their focus is sharp because it is not divided. Their power is real because it is not borrowed from attention. Choosing privacy is choosing ownership over your life. It is understanding that not everyone deserves access and not every moment needs an audience. Discipline protects peace. Peace strengthens focus. Focus multiplies power. When these three align, life becomes intentional, grounded, and controlled from within rather than influenced from outside as the world moves faster and louder. The ability to protect your inner world becomes one of the greatest strengths you can develop. Privacy is not about hiding from life. It is about choosing what truly deserves your energy, attention, and voice. When you guard your goals, your moves, your finances, your struggles, your growth, and your relationships, you create space for clarity, discipline, and peace. In that space, focus sharpens, confidence deepens, and progress accelerates without distraction or approval. The more intentional you become with what you share, the more control you gain over who you are becoming, and those who learn to move quietly will always move further, because true power grows best when it is protected.